So this is for class number 4, Thursday, August the 27th, 2020, for protein characterization techniques. So this question was number 10 out of the sampling questions, practice questions that we were given. It first states what immunoblotting is and the 3 steps that they had for it, which was perform SDS page on protein samples. The second step was transfer proteins from gel to membrane, and the third step was probe membrane with labeled antibodies. It then asks, select a statement that best describes the purpose of step 1. The correct answer for that would be separate proteins by size. The first given answer was incorrect because you're not just separating proteins by their native charge, which is what SDS is, a detergent that denatures the 3D structure and then later mask the protein with a negative charge rather than its native charge. The third given answer that was incorrect as well is separating antigens from antibodies, which is later in the process as well. And the fourth one would be separate proteins by size and native charge. Well, it's already been through SDS, so there you go. So it's only separating by size at this point rather than the native charge. So select a statement that best describes the purpose of step 2. I picked the first answer to be the correct one, which is transferring proteins to the membrane makes them more accessible to antibody binding, which is correct. Antibodies cannot go through that porous gel that it went through in step 1 to separate it by size because they're way too large. Therefore, it has to be put into a membrane so that the antibodies can react with the proteins. The second answer given that was incorrect was the membrane-bound proteins are easier to stain with protein binding dyes. That's incorrect because we're not even using dyes at this point, and the proteins itself are not what we're applying later to the membrane. It's going to be the antibodies. If it was just the proteins, then through the porous gel you can get through their size and everything. Hey, what's that? For the third incorrect answer, it was transferring proteins to a membrane denatures the proteins, resulting in improved antibody binding. It doesn't denature the proteins. At this point, it's already denatured by the SDS page, and it is improving antibody binding, but only because it's improving antibody binding for the antibodies. And the fourth answer that was also incorrect was separating larger proteins from smaller ones. That was originally said in SDS page, where that separates from large, medium to small inside the porous gel. So then the next question was select a statement that best describes the purpose of step 3. And I selected the third answer once again, which is visualizing a specific antigen. Out of all those, that one is the correct answer because facilitating recovery of antigen antibody complexes is not even what we're looking for at this point. Detect all the proteins bound to the membrane. The proteins aren't supposed to be bound to the membrane, they're supposed to be reactive to the antibodies. And distinguish native proteins from denatured ones. That's also not what we're looking for. We're looking for which proteins are reactive with the antibodies. and that later helps us distinguish if you do have antibodies or if you do not. And yeah, that's it.